I'm wondering, within the broader community, how many of us are sort of out to like coworkers and friends? I am in deep uh, closet, so that's the hat. But other folks?
So I have been outright in telling all of my coworkers. I went as far as inviting my CEO to go clay shooting with me, to which they went, "Oh, but guns are aggressive and dangerous." And I went, "Yeah, so is my driving, but none of you guys stopped me from driving my car to work." So, essentially they now recognize, hey, this is part of her life. They'll ask, questions, and in the neighborhood, they know me as, "Oh, you're the gun girl." So you get used to just being associated with firearms, but in a very positive light. It goes from, "Oh, you own a gun," to, "Oh, wait, you're an LGC instructor? Oh, tell me more. How can I learn more about firearms?" And they're more likely to, express their interest if you just express your enthusiasm.
Erickson, you're new. How about you?
Oh, I'm very new. Half of my family knows. My immediate family, my parents. I have three younger siblings. And I'm kind of the black sheep. So the youngest sibling knows for a fact, because one of the activities for my bachelor party 10 years ago was go to a gun range in Reno. So, and we got.
Is that when you came out?
No, that was just us doing something together. And he was always shooting a machine gun in the video games, and he shot the same, for real, and to shoot a Beretta. And it was a lot of fun. But, and I did it sporadically, maybe with another cousin. We went to a local gun shop and we shot over there. But yeah, my parents would be very shocked. I think my dad, maybe he's calmed down a bit. I mean, his hobby's golf. He's retired. All of them play golf and hang out. So I'm sure that if I told him, "Hey, got a gun now and it's handled safely. I got a really big safe that looks like a closet because it's covered with one of those IKEA closet covers in the garage." And I take classes and I go shooting, doing the shooting sports with, you, TJ, and a bunch of other people.
Yeah, did your partner know?
My wife knows, yes. And story. Because I bought the gun and I've had it home for 2 weeks before I told my wife. I was so scared.
I'm glad you're still married.
Permission.
But the roundabout way that I told my wife, she's probably in the other room, is that, we have a text thread between me, her brother, and sister-in-law, brother's wife. And my brother-in-law posted a picture. He goes, "Hey, if someone tries to steal something from my car again, I'm going to get him with this." And he showed a pistol. It looks like a regular semi-automatic pistol. And I'm like, "Oh, he has a gun now." And then I turned to my wife and I'm like, "Hey, babe, so if I were to say get a gun and a safe and take classes, and would you be okay with it?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" And she goes, "Yeah, I'll be okay with it." Wow. Okay, good, because I showed her a picture of my gun in a safe. She goes, "What's that?" I go, "That's my gun." "Where's it at?" "It's in the garage."
Oh my God.
And she goes, "Really?" And so I went and go get it. And I showed it to her. I made sure it's unloaded, showed it's clear. And she goes, "Oh." I go, "You can't change your mind anymore because you said yes."
Wow.
And then after that reveal, I texted the family again, and my brother-in-law texted me later on by himself, goes, "Hey, where'd you get that? I want one." And 2 weeks later, he got one, and we've been shooting together since. And it's been since June of last year since we've been shooting.
It's like a virus; it's spreading,
and we're learning. Yeah, we're learning together.
I love that story because there's these inflection points, and I definitely had one at work where at Google there are open, office floor plans, right? So there's very few closed, door offices. And so as a manager at the time, like I actually had like an office with a closed door. And so one of my other colleagues who I knew was a gun owner, we would often talk about firearms. But one time this was before I was on Top Shot. So before I'll talk about before and then after. So before I was on Top Shot, right, I was a partially out gun owner at work, and I would talk about guns with this one coworker. And when we were out on the open floor, we actually caught ourselves once, and we're like, "Ooh, we shouldn't be talking about guns in the open office space." So let's go in, and we actually shared an office. We're like, let's go in our office. We close the door. We turn the monitor away from the window so nobody see the guns that we had up on the monitor. And I always remember like that was like a recurring thing between me and this coworker, that we would secretly talk about guns at work, and obviously just fun stuff, like obviously like just what kind of barrel and da 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 da. So then what interesting thing happened is after I won Top Shot, it was as if because of the experience of seeing positive representations of not just Asians, but just good people, right, owning guns on national and actually international TV, it gave some of my other coworkers, it felt like license and freedom to talk a little bit more openly about guns in the workplace and just in a casual hobby way. So there was a striking moment after I had been on Top Shot that I'm walking in my team's pod area, right? Open office floor plan. Everybody can hear what everyone is saying. And one of my team members, he raises his hand because he had a question for me. So I walk over to his desk expecting a work question. And I walk up to his desk and he's got two 34-inch monitors, right, on his desk. And up on screen, he's got all sorts of AR-15 parts, barrels, triggers, and magazines, and this and that. And he's like, Chris, I want to build my own AR-15, but I'm really confused about, what kind of barrel length should I get? What is 1-in-7 versus 1-in-9 twist, and 223 versus 5.56? Right? All these questions, and my jaw just sort of dropped because here we are in the open office, just talking about building an AR-15, but the thing is, I felt comfortable talking about it, and obviously this was a direct report who felt comfortable asking me about it in a very open public space, and that was again a key inflection point in me being personally just more comfortable being out as a gun owner at work. But it is very hard, right? Because you just don't always know what the consequences might be. Where maybe your boss might pass you up for a project or pass you up for promotion, right? If he or she learns that you're a gun owner, and right, there is this calculation that I think a lot of us run through our head, asking ourselves, is it worth it for me to be out as a gun owner at work, at home, within my family and my friends? And I think what it comes down to is this. I think Asians, and Asian Americans in particular, I think we often are, I hate to use the word coerced, but I'm just going to use the word coerced because I feel like it is there's a strong drive for our families to coerce us into being a certain way, right? Into checking certain boxes that you need to look, sound, speak, and be professional in certain ways. And, for me, over the past, decades of my adult life, I've had to grow and mature and find myself, find my voice, find the courage to just be who I am and not be ashamed, not be afraid of saying that I'm a gun owner. I'm also gay. So there's this other aspect of me that I'm out as a gay person. I'm, married to my husband, blah, blah, blah. But there are so many of these general concept that Asian Americans, I think we have a long way to go around speaking up for ourselves, defending ourselves too, for who we are and not being ashamed for who we are, and just telling people, look, this is who I am. I'm a gun owner. I'm a this, I'm a that. And you know what? Take it or leave it. And if I'll find a job, right? I'll find a career in a community, a professional community that will support me for who I am. So that's something I hope is interesting for the group here to hear and maybe learn.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For Amy and Trish, I was wondering, I mean, there's the additional gender aspect as well. To be a woman and Asian American woman, I think adds things. Trish, I interrupted you.
I
go ahead,
you, Amy. Go first.
Go ahead, Trace. Go ahead.
Oh, all right. So I'll go ahead. So basically, in being Asian American and being female, and also having family that is also from, you know, an Asian country, and the idea that you're demure and that you present a certain way. I was already labeled as the Asian redneck of the family. So it was at this point where they went, you know what? One of the last words my uncle said to me before he passed is, he goes, Trish, I'm really concerned. When you ride a motorcycle, you have to, you put both sides on the bike, and that's not ladylike. You have to stop riding a motorcycle. And so you can already see there's a certain standard of either elegance or being prim and proper in this unspoken code of conduct that gets broken the second that you do something that isn't female or that isn't feminine in that sense. And you get this entire, challenge of self too, of, who am I? I know that these are what my friends and my family are expecting of me, but this is something that is very true to my identity and something that I enjoy. Do I give that up? Another thing too is the challenge of, how will my friends react? I'm sure that when I started posting on Facebook, this is my first firearm. I'm really excited. I'm doing my first USPSA or IDPA match. There were friends that you just were shaking their heads, and they were messaging me privately and going, are you sure you want to post that? What happens if, someone, a coworker sees that? Are you sure you want to be associated with that? And it's a struggle. It's a struggle every day, but simultaneously, the only way to improve things is just to normalize it. It's very much like the LGBT community, just saying, hey, you know what? I'm proud to be gay, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's the same. I'm a proud gun owner, and there should be nothing wrong with that. So it's a fight till now, but definitely, just it's something that you just have to internalize and embrace. So, yeah. Sorry, I want to hear Amy's side though.
Well, I think Trish hit the nail on the head on a few things you said. I definitely think that there's a stereotype, being an Asian woman, and there's definitely a barrier that I feel like, we're still kind of breaking through, even that are, still live in Asia. And I must, seem very, I'm American. I'm loud. I'm aggressive. And then even just as for me, I think, I've kind of had to give myself permission, and not give myself permission, but have had to have been okay with kind of breaking that stereotype that I knew was there. And a lot of that has to do with, the long years I spent being in the military. And I was also a drill instructor. So, I've had to kind of condition myself when I was in that time of my life to be assertive. And that's something that not many people expect. I think being Asian, I think that there's this kind of, and maybe you guys, will agree or disagree, but and I think that was in our notes, that something about the Asians being the model minority. We're supposed to be quiet, soft-spoken, being, not rock the boat, very agreeable. And it's, for things that we're passionate about, and, for all of us here, it's being a gun owner and wanting to spread the positivity of that message. I think that we kind of have to break our own molds because of that. And I think that just, being in the company of Trish, Karen, other Asian American women like myself that aren't afraid to kind of speak up for what we believe in, I think that definitely helps. But there is definitely a stereotype and a barrier that that I think that we feel. I know I do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you can feel it when you go into a gun shop, especially like a really sort of chuddy gun shop. It's like, whoa.
Or if it's your first time going.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I remember the first time I went to like my home range, I looked like I was in a burqa, or at least I had a ski mask on. And I was just trying to hide because I wasn't sure what I was going to run into. I mean, the whole point of why I'm TJ is it was androgynous. So it was supposed to be, I did not want anyone to know who I was. And it took a couple of, visits before I went, all right, it's okay to be female at the gun range. Then it's also okay to be a minority, and I guess we're fortunate too, right? Because we live, or at least Chris, myself, Karen, we like all live in Erickson as well. We all live in the Bay Area, right? So I recognize that when I travel, the experience is completely different. Case in point, I went to Monroe, Louisiana, and I went to Duck Commander, Buck Commander to go and just check out the shop over there. That's
What's the name of that?
Duck Commander, Buck Commander from Duck Dynasty. That whole
I have to watch that.
Yeah. Anyways, but, I mean, walking into a gun shop as an Asian in Louisiana is very intriguing. Well, number one, they're obviously they know, hey, you're not from around here. Where are you from? And as soon as you mention California, they hand you the biggest gun that they can find, and they go, see, this one's not California compliant. Have fun. Take it outside. Oh, where can you take it outside? We don't care. Shoot it in the backyard. It doesn't matter. So you'll find that, the more you come out, the more supportive people will be, even in, you're being Asian. At least they've been nice to me in the South and in the Midwest. So I've been fortunate to experience that.
Amy, you look like you want to say something.
Yes, because I think I'm the only one here that doesn't reside on the panel that doesn't reside in California. So I just wanted to talk about that for a few minutes. I grew up in San Diego, and California has a very big Asian community. I mean, it was normal for me, where I grew up in my high school, and we're very diverse and a lot of Asians. I first experienced that kind of reverse culture shock when I got stationed in South Carolina, and then my school, one of my follow-up schools after boot camp was in Mississippi. And that was the first time in my life at 18 years old. It was the first time that I experienced people kind of looking at me different, because there were no Asians. I mean, I was the only one. And, I've lived in South Carolina, Georgia, and Texas now, and I'm currently in Alabama. So I'm primarily in the Southeast, and it's very different. I mean, every time I see another Asian, it's like, we kind of look at each other like, oh, another Asian person. And it's very, and then when I go back to California and I'm visiting my family there, I mean, it's no one gives me a second look, because I'm like everyone else there. There's a lot of Asians there compared to where I live currently. And absolutely, when I walk into a gun shop or, a gun store, I'm usually the only Asian, I mean, not just Asian woman, but Asian person. So it's a unique perspective.
I got Trish and Erickson, when we were at the USPSA match on Sunday, it was like 80% Asian, wasn't it? It was like amazing. What's up with that?
I think that it might be just our area. I could be wrong. Okay. I think Chris has probably traveled around more and seen, what the situation is as far as like competitions are concerned. I mean, to Amy's point, it is just a different world the second that you step outside California, because suddenly, it's the 2A culture is more of the stereotype that you experience, where here it's a blend between, hey, we want to fight for our rights because this is a really fun hobby. Whereas it seems like with other cultures, it's no, this isn't my identity that's being taken away. And so I can't quite put my finger on it, but just when you step out of California, it is a uniquely different experience. So for our Asian friends that do not reside in California, my heart goes out to you, but don't stop being who you are.
Oh, move here.
I guess you could change culture or try to change culture. I mean, that's the point of what we do here in the Bay Area, right? We need to at least not be so closeted at this point.
Well, we have a not so secret plan to take over Richmond Rod and Gun Club.
Uh-oh.
I just gotta say.
Oh, go ahead, Erickson.
Yeah, living in the San Francisco Bay Area, I think we are very spoiled as Asian Americans. The minority. I'll just give an example. I live in Fremont, California. I cross a bridge, Dunbarton Bridge. Facebook is right there. That's where I live, and in my neighborhood, the minorities are the white folks. I got a Vietnamese family across the street. To my right, Indian. To my left, Chinese. Across the way, Indian. A lot of Indians. A lot of Middle Eastern. Living in the Bay, we're in a bit of a bubble. But every once in a while, I'll get surprised, a little reality check when I do go to the gun range just outside. Let's say Livermore is about a half an hour away from me. And it starts heading towards the Central Valley. And that's when you start noticing, okay, it's a little bit more red out there. They used to have a big old sign, vote red, vote them out, something like that, down the street from the gun range there. And the dialogue that you would hear at the range, for a while there, is like, oh, maybe I should cover my LGC patch on my gun bag a little with my jacket so I don't get any sideways glances. But, I think, growing up in California, growing up in the Bay or any coastal area, this bubble gives a little bit of protection for us until, we start venturing out to the central or the north, or just start going east to like where Amy's located. So